Hello and welcome to the Early Bird Special with your hosts, Carole Montgomery and Julia Scotti. And now, here's Carole Montgomery.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the Early Bird Special. I am Carole Montgomery, your host. And what day is it? Does anyone know what day it is? Does anyone even care what day it is? What's going on, folks? We will talk about the wrestling match that we all watched yesterday. I think that's the best way to describe that. But I want to talk about, I've been getting pretty vocal on social media lately, and so I'm on Twitter because that's where you really find all your news out. And so I was talking about, I had tweeted, I came up with the perfect I Love New York ad. People who are watching know about years ago they used to go, I love New York. So mine was going to be, come see a Broadway show, stay for the anarchy. I love New York. And I want to just, even before we get into everything else that's happening in this world, I really want to talk about the fact that people think New York City is dead. And you know what? That's not the case, people. Okay? It's not the case. There have been people that have left, and good riddance. But a lot of people left in March during the pandemic because they were lucky enough to have other homes, or I'm just looking at my list. I think it's a little too much. Anyway, they left because we were the hot center. So people left because they wanted to be safe with their families. So I'm talking about the people who are disparaging my city and saying there's too much crime now and all this stuff is happening. Now, you've heard me say this before, and I will tell you this again. The one great thing about our lovely Mayor de Blasio is he's a uniter because he has brought together Democrats, Republicans, liberals, and conservatives. We all fucking hate him. The point is, New York City has always been a rough and tumble place. I grew up in the 70s here, okay? And, the fact that the subways are as clean as they are now is mind-boggling to me. Because, you'd walk into an empty subway car in the summer thinking, I have all the air conditioning to myself, and there's a giant shit somewhere in there. So, anyway, here's the deal. New York City has been through so much. We have been through so much with everything, starting with 9/11. New Yorkers will come back. We always come back. And and the other thing is, stop whining about the crime. I know about the crime. I'm a New Yorker. The only difference between now and, let's say, during the Disneyland years, the Julia years, is now I walk with a little more of a Brooklyn again, because we did get comfortable, like, I'm a middle-aged woman, so I have to protect myself to begin with. So, and stop whining. Stop whining about New York City. Let me tell you something. If you haven't seen a guy jerk off on the L train, you're not a real New Yorker. So on that note, I'm going to bring on my lovely co-host, and we have a fabulous guest tonight, Cory Kahaney, who will be joining us in about 2 or 3 minutes. This is a great show. We're going to talk about comedy. We're going to maybe talk a little bit about politics. And let's bring on my fabulous co-host, Julia Scotti.
Hey, put that thing back in your pants. What do you think you are, for crying out loud? Hi. Hey, Carol.
Hey, so I guess you're a real New Yorker too.
No, just senior citizens. They're always doing that. They just,
I know.
There you go. What are you doing? They go, I'm jogging. I go, no, you're jerking. Jogging means you run. Anyway, I'm on. What am I on? Auxiliary power here, Captain.
Yes. So the people don't know. Julia texted me about 45 minutes ago and says that we have no power. So I was like, oh great. So but so she's on her phone. So if she disappears,
I can still do this. Look.
What are you doing? Are you going to blow a bubble?
Hmm.
What are you
Yeah.
sucking?
Never mind.
What are you sucking? I don't even want to
Hey.
know. You see, you mentioned a guy put
Hey,
his
put
dick
that
out.
thing back in your pants. I'm not sucking any. Never mind.
What makes me laugh is that because you said senior, you're not in a home. You're just in a senior citizen
Development. An active
development.
adult community. Ooh,
Oh.
what I did. Hey, by the way, if you do your I Love New York commercial, you gotta wear a cat's costume.
I love that. Go
You
to
have
a
to.
Broadway show, stay for the anarchy,
And wear a cat's costume.
and wear a
when you
cat's
go.
costume. I think that might be. I think
And your pose will be like,
yeah, as long as I don't have to actually, I'll just wear the mask because
yeah.
if I realized, we've talked about this before, is that I've gained about 15 pounds during, and so because you were on the second special with me, you saw how I worked out, and I was able to wear this beautiful pantsuit. I had my guns out. I was like, if I would not, I didn't even, I almost thought to myself, I want to see if I can fit into that. And I thought, oh, that's not.
Carol, don't live in the past. That was then.
Yes. But what I've decided is if we get lucky enough to have another special, I'm just wearing a muumuu. I'm just going on stage in a fucking caftan.
You know what? Rhonda Handsome and I were. She was trying to. She came down for the weekend. Our friend Rhonda.
Yes.
And the entire weekend, she was trying to convince me that I should wear a muumuu. And I was like, I don't want to wear a muumuu.
No, I don't want to wear a muumuu either. But
next thing you know, I'm doing a tribute to Lainey Kazan wearing a muumuu.
Okay, see, these are the names that nobody knows.
I know.
So let's bring Cory on and let's have a discussion about life.
I bet she knows who Lainey Kazan is.
I know she does. Of course she does. Now, before I bring Cory on, I'm going to embarrass her because I love to embarrass my friends. To me, Cory Kahaney is probably one of the utmost comedians in this business. When I teach, and I haven't taught in a while, but whenever I teach stand-up and I tell people, you want to see the perfect TV set ever done, watch Cory's first David Letterman spot, because there is no fat in that set, and I am amazed at, because that's all I do is add fat to my set, but I always, watching her, she's such a great comic, and she's such a professional, and she's a great writer. So let's bring her on. Hi, Cory. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Cory. Hi.
Hi. Hold on.
There she is. Hi.
There you are.
Moving around.
I wish I was as fat-free as that set.
But I always do that, because you know that. I've told you that story 100 times. I will watch it every so often, and I'm like, motherfucker, Jesus, that set is so good.
Oh, thank you. By the way, Julia, you
Yes.
should look at young Lainey Kazan. I am a shoo-in. Like, literally, we could be doppelgangers.
Yeah, you do look a lot like Lainey. Yep, you do. Actually, you look like my last wife too. You do have a strong resemblance to her.
That's my big claim to fame. Carol, good to see you. Julia, I think this may be our first time meeting.
It's weird. I was trying to think today if we'd ever bumped into. The closest we ever came was AGT, but we were, I think it was the same season, right?
Right. We were exactly different weeks. Yeah. Did you ever get to meet the 13-year-old comedian?
On the show? Oh,
yeah.
That kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. I think it was so long ago. I was
Carol, they kept putting me together with this 13-year-old comedian, and they kept trying to get us to have confrontation.
Oh, the girl. You're talking about the girl.
Oh,
yes.
Jesus.
Yes,
my God.
And I remember saying to myself, it's going to take everything I have not to lose my mind, because she was doing jokes that her parents wrote for her.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. I remember that.
Oh my God.
I remember that.
And that's what, for the people who are watching, reality shows are not reality shows. They are all scripted. So they want the confrontation. They want that, the fighting and it's so stupid. Because
Cory, if it's any consolation, I was doing jokes that her parents wrote for me too. So,
You know, I had to play it so cool, Julia. I was like, I love that the bow in your hair matches your skirt. I saw that movie with Julie Kavner too.
Oh, that's adorable.
I had people screaming at me because I supposedly bumped this guy who did a Rubik's Cube act. And they were blaming me for him getting bumped off. I'm like,
oh, that's
I had nothing to do with it,
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when I was in Vegas, and they wanted to do. It was I forget, maybe it was the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, some travel. They had done one of the shows backstage, like what it's like to be backstage. And the producer came into us and said, "Oh, they're thinking about doing our show next." And I said, "Then you're going to have to get a replacement for me." I said, and the woman was like, "Why?" I said, "Because if there's going to be a camera right by me just before I go on stage, and they're going to give me one of these questions, what does it feel like? Somebody's getting punched in the throat." Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And we ended up our show ended up not doing it. I think it was a sister show of whatever I was doing. But I want to give both of you credit, because Julia, you did AGT, and of course, Cory, didn't you do Last Comic Standing also?
Last Comic Standing went better for me.
Yeah, you made it to the finals, right? With the
finale.
Right? Finale, yes. Yeah.
But what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that you both were able. I don't think I have the temperament to even try that. I would just be like, "Get the fucking camera out of my face." Do you know what I mean? Like, and then when they do this stuff where they actually, no, I did do one. I did when we did Funniest Mom, and they wanted you in the booth to have a confession, and I was like, I got nothing. I got nothing.
Confession?
Like how they do that. Like, you'll see, they'll not a confession, but it's like they'll talk to you. They'll talk. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I was on the grassy knoll.
You're narrating the show.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, let's talk. How are you, Cory? How have you been? I mean, I follow you on Instagram, and you've been cooking a lot. So
it's like an addiction. Like, I literally wake up and I'm like, okay, I have basil, I have ginger, I have pork belly. What can I make with that? Yeah, it's really it's something I can control. Yeah.
Are you using an air fryer?
Oh yeah, air fryer.
Oh, God, the best, right?
I bought a wok, Julia. I never had one, but I bought a wok.
I was going to get a wok. Yeah, no, I can't. I knew I'd like you with the air fryer.
Now, did you? Because I saw. Were you away from New York for a while, Cory?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was one of those people that everybody resented. I left. We left, I think, March 21st, and we came back Memorial Day weekend. And then we shelled out the money. My mother-in-law has a house upstate. They stayed in the city because they're elderly and they wanted to be near doctors that they trusted and knew.
Right.
So we were very lucky. We had that. And then I can't, something that owed me money paid. And I took it, and I rented a house for July 4th through Labor Day.
But but Cory, because I have a lot of friends that left. That's not what
I'm. Or just left for a couple of months.
Just left during this time, and that to me is fine, because if I would have been able to do that, I would have done that, because we were New York City was the fucking epicenter. I'm talking about the people now these fair weather New Yorkers who moved here from somewhere in the Midwest, and the first sign of any type of problem, they're like, "Oh my God, we have to leave now." And I'm like, I remember I used to take the subway home at 2:00 in the morning. I would take the fucking D train, which is now the Q, to go to Sheepshead Bay. And there was graffiti everywhere. There was gang fight. That's what you did. You were a New Yorker. I mean, so people who left, because they had another place to go, I would have done that. But I'm talking about the people, there's a certain group of people who just like, I'm leaving. Same thing in California. I'm leaving. I'm like, go ahead, go to Texas. Have fun.
Carol, don't you, when you see somebody that like pulls their car up in front of their building and they take groceries out from a supermarket out of the back, I'm like, if you, there's no point in you living here if you're able to do that.
Out of state, bringing out of state groceries in, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm having dinner with two friends. Yeah, I'm still friends with the moms from preschool, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And there's a small group of us, and we're meeting tonight. And one of the moms called, and she said, "I'm really afraid to meet at the bar on 75th and Broadway because there are so many homeless people and drug addicts." And I'm like, "Not on 75th and Broadway."
Well, there was that whole thing about, for the people who don't live in New York, that the Upper West Side, there was a big uproar about the fact that our fabulous mayor decided to put homeless people into hotels. And listen, I have no problem doing that. But, these were high-end. They were paying like $400 a night for these people to be in these hotels. Come on, I will give them my apartment and let me stay in the fucking $400 a night hotel. Like I don't, there's so many empty apartment buildings right now. Put them there. Yes, we have a homeless problem, but don't put them in, and you're spending all this money on that. You know what I mean?
Unless it's
Carol, I think they got a deal. I think they got it for $350 a night.
Okay, there you go. That's nice.
But also, they can't take these vacant apartments because they're owned by corporations. They're investments.
Right.
By the way, I have the city solved. The whole financial crisis. You ready, Julia? Pay attention. This is it. If you have an apartment that is worth over $1 million that you do not live in, you have to pay $100,000 a year. For the privilege of owning that incredibly secure property. And that will solve everything. Because let me tell you something, those people who don't live here, the reason why it's a solid investment is because of the theater, the museums, the opera, the life, the restaurants. Okay, so if that's your solid investment, you've got to take care of it.
Yeah, I agree. Cory, I live around the corner from 157, which is the building across the street from Carnegie Hall. There's nobody in that building. There's no, I mean, it's all been sold to foreign corporations.
It's Israelis. I'm one of the tribes, so I can say it. It's Israelis, it's Brazilians, it's Russian, it's Chinese, it's
Middle Eastern,
Arab countries.
Which tribe? Which tribe? Brazilians? Which one are you in?
She's a Jew.
Oh, cellulites. I'm a cellulite.
But here's the deal. I don't even know if you know this. That particular building, and I don't know about the other mega high rises, is they have a 30-year tax abatement.
Of course.
A 30-year tax abatement.
And was that from our generous mayor or was that from Bloomberg?
That was probably from Bloomberg. I mean, that sounds like a Bloomberg. But the point being, 30 years, and these are, I guess now there's another building that has the most expensive apartment. But when it first opened, it was like the most expensive apartment in New York City. It was $98 million. How much? I mean, is anybody who knows math out there, tell me what the tax would be on that for 30 years? I mean, we could probably fund de Blasio's re-election campaign with that money. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just blows my mind that, and I agree with you. I like that. $100,000 just to live here.
No, it should like a gated community. You have to pay that fee. Anyway, it makes me crazy. Although, you know what, Carol, when that building first went up, I looked at that apartment and I got it. They were offering it to me for $50,000. And I said, you know what? I don't know if it's going to hold its value.
Julia, do you pay fees in your place?
Yes. But we get, we pay maintenance fee. We get, it pays for the bocce ball.
Okay.
We get that. They cover like our snow removal and garbage removal and
no pool.
Not here. No, we don't have a pool here. No, it would cost a lot more if we had a pool. I don't swim anyway. I don't want to be in a place with a pool. Have you seen old people in bathing suits?
So, Cory, how are you dealing with what's going on? I mean, that's the thing we really like with the pandemic. I saw that you were doing a couple of shows. Maybe were you doing?
I've started doing a couple of live in-person shows, but I have to tell you, I managed to find my way on Zoom. It took a while. I watched people that were really good at it. If you're interested, the person that really was the best teacher was watching Ray Ellen, of all people, because he's a master at going through all those faces and connecting with people. And I learned, I developed a little bit of a routine with it, and I know what works well and what doesn't work well on Zoom. I kind of like it. And I'll be honest with you, some of my better paying gigs this fall are on Zoom, and my lesser paying gigs are the ones live. I mean, we're doing Central Park for $25.
Yeah.
With a really bad mic.
Julia, the sets in Central Park, it's basically like a Fisher Price microphone set.
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, it's not even, it's like,
you don't use the mic and you're screaming.
Right.
And yeah.
Who is, I hate to be cliche, but who books that? No, I mean it. Who is the?
What? That's Stand Up New York.
Yeah.
And they can't give you a decent sound system?
It's outside.
Still.
No, Carole, they did something in the very beginning, because I did them in early June before I went away.
Right.
And what they had was those, a couple of those Bose speakers that they put two of them
Right.
and you did it into your phone. You talked to, remember that?
I didn't do those.
They hooked your phone up to those systems, and those systems can be very sensitive. All they needed to do was put the phone down and then hook up a wireless mic. And then I think it would have been better, because some of those small Bose, I'm saying Bose, I don't think they sprung for Bose. You know what I'm saying? They were these auxiliary speakers that have good sound. I think we'd be better off with those. But then I don't want to invest the energy into that, because I have other things to do. Like I have to stay on Facebook and argue with Al Martin.
Hey, I got to tell you, Cory, I was watching your TED Talk earlier today.
Oh, thanks. You're the only one.
Really? Oh, everybody
it
should
hasn't
watch
gotten the traction, but thank you.
It was wonderful. I did a great job and very moving. So,
if anyone's interested, go to YouTube and just type in Cory Kahaney. There's only one of me, TED Talk or TEDx, and you'll get right to it. I'd love for you to see it. It's a little bit a different side to me, because I talk about what brought me to comedy, which was actually domestic violence.
Well, that's the thing that struck me, was that it's how we as comics, we mine those painful memories and experiences and turn them into humor. It really is we call it sick behavior as comics, but it really is amazing that we've been blessed with that ability. Because otherwise, you wind up killing yourself if you're traumatized like that.
Oh yeah, the fact that I figured that outlet out to funnel whatever was not right in the world. I am so grateful that I had that, because without it, who knows? I might have been a drug addict or a real mess.
But I was picturing, if you didn't see it, Carole, I'll let Cory tell you the story, but there's a climactic scene in there that I'm picturing in my head, and I'm going, holy shit, this would be such a great scene for a movie. I don't know if you want to tell us.
Do you mind telling us, Cory? The story?
You're talking about the
the sconce, the wall sconce.
So I already had a order of protection in place. And my ex-husband said that he needed my kid's leotard for gymnastics. And I thought, okay, maybe, who knows? I hung it on the outside of the door so there would be no contact. But he got into the building because I buzzed him in, and he overpowered me, and he came barreling into the apartment. And he was, the adrenaline that was going through him was, superhuman. And he knocked this wall sconce off of the wall. It was a long hallway lit by one sconce, and he knocked it off, and it came off as a those wood stud that it was attached to was still attached. So it was like a dagger.
Oh,
And he
Jesus.
was, one thing led to another, and he had me, on the floor. He was gonna carve up my face, and I don't know, something snapped in me, and I thought, wait a second, who is this gonna hurt more? Yes, maybe I'll lose an eye. But there was a moment where I saw the humor in it,
Oh, that's
He's this close to getting his PhD. He's a rather public figure. And I said, go ahead, cut up my face. Everyone's going to know you did it, And I said, good luck getting laid. And it was one of those moments where I don't know where the strength came from, but I leaned on it because the joke was so good. I could not say it. You know what I'm talking about as a comedian? And he dropped the sconce because it also, it was such a double whammy joke. I insulted his manhood, and I inferred that there would not be any penis sucking coming up for a long time.
Wow. I didn't even know.
The name of the talk is The Joke That Saved My Life, and I consider that joke to be the joke that saved my life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Just from whether or not you're a comic, it's a great story of hope and salvation. Great job, really.
I love that you brought this up, Julia, because I think people we know each other, but we don't really know our back history, our backstories, and what we when I hear you talking about that, because I was also in an abusive relationship, but I was in high school, so I was also a battered woman, and people look at me and they go, "You let somebody beat you up? What?" Like they can't understand it. And so when I talked about it in my solo show, the first time I wrote the story of how the first time he hit me, and I literally got up from my desk and I walked away from writing. I didn't go back to writing the script till like a year later because I was ashamed because everyone knew me as this powerful woman. So I love, that you were able to come out and become who you became, Cory, is wonderful.
Well, I also think it's important to shed light on the fact that it's not, low income families where this is happening.
Right.
It's not, it's not something, that only occurs in the slums. Regular people. And I came from a place of privilege and actively entered into this and stayed for way too long. But it affects everyone. And, listen, I am the first to admit, I'm sure there was something in it for me because I think we do things because there's something in it for me. And I think that I had this fantasy that if he really loved me.
Yeah. Well,
all of which brings us full circle to bullying.
Yes.
And abuse. And so you like the way I did that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Thank you. Which brings us to last night.
Yeah.
And our psychotic president.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
But perfect example of bullying.
Yeah. Well, what I said on one of the thing that I couldn't watch the whole thing. I have high blood pressure, and I really have to not let myself get upset because there's nothing you can do about it. But the thing that I said is everything. Like to me, Joe, look, he was not my first choice. I'm sure a lot of people, Biden was not the choice we wanted. But if I was on that stage with this asshole and he had said anything about my son, and everyone in the world who knows me knows how I am about my boy, I would have stabbed him. I would have walked
with
over.
A wall sconce.
With a wall sconce. There you go. Look at that. What a great callback. But that Joe Biden didn't take the bait, that's who I want to lead this fucking country. He could have turned around and said, what? Did you see your cokehead son on? Or did you see your... that he didn't. That he had the empathy not to do that after talking about his dead son.
I wrote all these comeback lines today.
Right.
I wrote back, oh, really? How about those trademark deals they gave to Ivanka? Because she's so known for fashion. You know what I mean?
I know.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. Haven't all we've been talking about is this Trump Tower in Moscow? What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's that's,
my drug addict son never shot an elephant.
In his pajamas. Did you know I was I don't know I was watching Joe and I'm like I don't know how he's not cold cocking this guy, but then I saw a little Michelle Obama on his shoulder, and she just kept saying, when they go low, you go high, and boy, he held his shit together. I don't know how he did. I really don't know how he did it.
Yeah, I mean, that alone. I mean, there were so many dirty tricks.
I don't think he did, Julia. I think I think he let it get to him. I think he got tongue-tied, and there were so many moments where I feel like he went for the bait with the laughing and the shaking the head. I was disappointed.
Well, I get where you're coming from. Yes, you're right, and you're right on all of those counts. But this was, I mean, even Chris Wallace. Jesus, I was really counting on him. I said, if anybody's going to be able to handle this nitwit, it's going to be Wallace. And there's like a little, like in the cartoons when the steamroller runs over the character, there's a little flat version of them. That's what Chris Wallace was last night.
There was the one, like we went back and forth from that to the Yankee game and everything. And the thing that we watched was Trump went off on this rant, and because it was his question. And then Joe went to respond, and Chris went, "Oh, and now we're going to another question." And you literally saw his eyes go like this. Like what? Like he should have stopped and gone, "Wait a second, let me respond."
He tried a couple of times, and they just moved on.
It's I'm glad our children are all grown. I mean, I know your son's a little bit younger, but how do you teach children to do right in this environment? Like, how do you do that? How do you say choose the moral path when you have somebody who is blatantly lying? You're not even like, well, if you had been president, he wasn't the president. You can't blame it on somebody else. He's not the fucking president.
But he's never takes the blame for anything.
No, he never does.
I'm here to tell you, if the leader of our country had a unified front about the masks with conviction and with calm, our comedy clubs would be open now.
Yep.
Right.
Our restaurants, our clubs, everything.
Right. And that's the thing, is that I don't know who, when he talks about the best people. First of all, when Brad Parscale almost killed himself, and people were like, "Oh, don't talk bad. Oh, the guy tried suicide." Fuck him. After what he did and what the things he's taunted, he made his fucking bed, let him lie in it. But these are the people I look forward to Joe Biden's cabinet: Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, being a Supreme Court justice. Wouldn't that be fucking great? And it just, I agree with you, Cory, that I do think he stuttered, but I know that, and I'm curious if you ladies ever felt this. When I get really angry, like really angry, this is what happens.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
And
there should have been, his handler should have had an index card that he could have put in his breast pocket. Like, if he ever brings up Hunter, pull this out.
Right.
Okay, fine. You want to go to Hunter? Let's talk about Paul Manafort. Let's talk about Rick Gates. Let's talk about Steve Bannon. Let's talk about Carter Page. Let's talk about Papadopoulos. Let's talk about, I'd like you to do us a favor, though. You were impeached. Yeah.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. So I'm curious, then all the pundits are going, well, maybe there shouldn't be any more debates. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't give the Republicans fodder that they're now you're going to go, oh, Joe's afraid. I mean, I think Joe should come back the next time, and I think he'll be stronger. Because remember, when Obama, there was one.
I just wish that Joe could say, it's so great to be here. I am not the greatest debater. I am an amazing leader. I'm going to let my vice president.
But he can do that
as a pinch hitter.
He can do that between now and the next debate.
Right.
He can do that. He's unfettered as far as being interrupted. And yes, you're right about Kamala being a great spokesman.
She would not be at all intimidated.
Oh God, no. I want to see what she does to Pence.
Oh my God. She's going to murder him. She's going to.
I also think Pence is in a difficult place, because if Pence does a good job, he's going to make his boss look bad.
Right.
Well, there's that too. Anybody know who the moderators for the next debate?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Presidential.
It could be Pee
Oh,
Wee
it does
Herman.
matter.
Well, you saw that. Did you see the meme that came out? Of course, like almost as soon as the debate was over, it was of Samuel L. Jackson, and it says, "I said 2 minutes, motherfucker." I mean, Jesus Christ, that was hysterical. But what? It's so funny that you mentioned what you just said about Pence and him doing better than Trump did, because I think the Supreme Court stuff is going to backfire because that's all they're going to be talking about in the weeks leading up to the election is the Supreme Court. Because they're going to be the hearings start October 15th. So every day there's going to be discussions about that, and it's going to take away from he loves being the news cycle, and it will, they're going to be talking about her and not him. So that could come back and bite him on the ass too.
Before I forget, I do want to say the one thing that Biden accomplished was to get him to say the Proud Boys stand by.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because poor Trump has got to deal with that for the next week, because that's not going away.
No,
that's not going away, and that's bad. I mean, that's really bad. He can keep saying Antifa. Nobody knows what the hell that means. It's like a book club.
Yeah, but you know what? I thought this losers and suckers line was going to stay with him to stick. That stink was going to stay with him. But it doesn't. It just doesn't.
But you're. Let me just say this, and about people. Okay, you don't know. You're one of the things. Like my son was here last night. We were having a whole discussion about, and he knows my one thing always, of course, is the pro-choice stuff. And I said to him, you have to understand something. We have been dealing with this since I was a little girl. This has been going on, and people have always said, you'll hear people go, oh, but there's so many people who are anti-choice. I said, not really. The people that you hear are the fucking loud ones. They're the one, and they're a very small group. I think, Julia, honestly, the military is keeping their mouth shut, and they're going to fucking show up at the polls.
Well, the former generals aren't. They're all signed on and are just speaking their mind. But I'm talking about the families of these people.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I know, for example, because I've done 11 tours overseas, and I've made friends with many, many people. They are not happy with how he's treated the military. Okay.
Biden really needs to go and do, explain that whole thing where he said stupid bastards.
Right.
He was talking about the fact that he nominated someone and then he made a joke about them and the joke died and he said, laugh, you stupid bastards.
Right.
That's what it was. He was bummed that a joke didn't work, and it was just the fact that they've taken that out of context. And, he is a man that has always been for the military.
Yes.
Of course.
Given a look at his family. The kids. I mean, Jesus.
And then the other thing that was on social media, and this gave me some really, I find hope in the dumbest places, but somebody tweeted, I'm paraphrasing, every woman in America knows a man like Trump. He just lost the woman's vote.
Yeah. Did it not occur to you, Carole, that what he would have been like if it was a woman standing there?
Oh, well, we saw that with Hillary. That with.
Yes, but now that he's been so attacked by the world, could you imagine if a woman, he would have made his bed if we could have gotten Kamala Harris there.
Right. And also, and I've said this about women of color. Women of color are going to bring him down, because every Black mom that I know that has a son, they're terrified. They are terrified for their children. Not just their sons, their daughters too. So that is what is going to save us. Women, once again, are going to save this country. Look, and I'm sure there's people watching.
A lot of white women voted for Trump.
Yeah, but I think this year, but I think he's lost them. I really do. I think
he's lost a good percentage of them. I think he lost the ones that voted for Obama, and then decided to try him out. I think
we need to reach people that are doing the single issue voting. Because, okay, fine. Let's say your only thing is pro-choice. We've got to start really hitting them and saying, what if I tell you without any doubt, it's never going to get overturned? Maybe you want a street light. Maybe you want a new
Right.
road. There are other things you can want.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And I got to say, as a trans person, I am petrified that he is going to win another term. Petrified. And I've spoken to family members about where I can move, because I feel like my life would be in jeopardy if he. I feel like it's in jeopardy now.
Right.
But even more so.
Not good for the trans community at all.
No. And there's pro-choice, and then right under there is the LGBTQ community, because most of my friends and family are part of that. And Julia is one of my closest friends. I've said to her, you could stay with me in the apartment, but then you'd have to sleep with my mother-in-law, and it wouldn't be good. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like my husband was really upset about, like we all were, about the Proud Boys comment, and he posted on his wall, and and he plays ball with a lot of guys who are righties, and one of his friends who's a black gentleman said he can't believe, he goes, please don't tell me that the guys we've been playing ball with for 30, 40 years are racist. And he wrote this whole thing to him and said, I have your back. Whatever happens, because if there is this civil war that everybody's going to have, fine, I'll bring my fucking bats. You know what I mean? I've never shied away from a fight. And if you think that I'm going to let anybody hurt my friends or family, stop it.
They would have to get, they're just going to have to kill me if they're going to come after me. And that'll be the first thing out of my mouth. Like, here I am, fuckers. You want me? You're going to have to kill me.
Yeah. I think all of us, especially because we're also older women, are just like, we've got nothing to lose. Like I remember one of the first things I said to my son's old girlfriend when we first met. I went, listen, honey, I can't have any more kids. I'm done. This is your uterus. You need to be fucking worried about it. And my son's looking at me like, Mom, I'm on my second date with this girl. Would you really? Why did you do that? But we're almost at 45 minutes. Cory, because we always talk about politics. The one thing we love to talk about is the worst or most embarrassing road gig you've ever had before we get out of here. Do you have a good one like that? Yep.
There's so many. The one that pops into my head, I did this gig with Keith Aberstadt, great guy. And it was a corporate gig, and we had to go to Indiana. And we were doing the opening of the flagship location of a chain of very, very high-end movie theaters. Oh. And we were so excited. We're like, oh, this is great. It will be in a movie theater. At least people will be seated, right? In rows. So we show up, and the gig, 13 movie theaters, but no, they want us to perform in the bar. All right, we go to the bar. We're like, we're going to perform here at the bar because that's where the party's going to be. The bar is bordered by a full-size bowling alley. And yes, they were, it was a private party, so there were no bowlers. But the machines were still doing that thing where they come down, click, and the lights and the thing like that, and they couldn't turn it off. And so we had to do this show with, and it still had the sounds of bowling balls, score, strike.
Did you make this motion like every time you got it?
I basically just at a certain point, because it was so loud from the people and it was so loud from the bowling balls, I just started doing my entire set to Keith, and I'm like, we will never speak of this.
Where was that?
Indiana somewhere. Oh. We will never speak of this. Let's start counting our money, because I think,
But that's the thing. Like
I was like, did you put the camper seat in yet? I was. That's one that comes to mind. I'm sure there were some awful ones too.
Well, one of the things I love for the audience this is watching, because for us to show them behind the scene, because we've all done those shows. We've all done those where you're just like, you're literally like, I'm going to get off the stage, I'm going to get my money, and I'm going to run and get out of this place. I'm not even going to talk to the people, because do you remember Betty's Fireside?
Oh, That's the one that everyone brings up all the time.
Yeah.
Cory, do you okay, so because Julia and I started, I think about 10 years before you, there was a bar called Betty's Fireside. And it was every worst gig you've ever had, all wrapped into one. Well, is that the one that had chicken wire? I don't remember.
No. It was in. I think it was in Denville, New Jersey, way up in the boonies. At the time, it was the boonies.
And nobody, you would get on stage. I literally, the last time I did it, I remember I just brought out my shopping list and I just started talking about I need to get bread, and nobody paid attention. It was. But I remember, I think they paid like $300 and you got a free meal. So to us, that was like, oh my God.
Yeah. The booker that booked it was probably also making $300 for doing nothing. He was a horrible little man. you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. So listen, we are done. Cory, do you want to plug anything besides the fabulous TED Talk?
Oh, yes. I have a show that I'm really proud of. If you like politics and you like feminists, I have a show next the 8th. And we renamed it, Carole. It's called The Ruthless Comedy Hour.
Oh, nice. I love it.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that. That's great.
And look for it on my Facebook. All of my socials will have links to it, and it's free. We'd love for you to come. And our guest this week is Jessica Kirson.
Oh, yeah, that'll be a great show.
That'll be fun. That's a great.
And Julia, how about you, sweetheart?
Oh, well, it's always my album, which is doing great, by the way. It really did. Thank you all for Anyway, the movie Julia Scotty Funny That Way is going to be at this year's what the hell's it called? New York LGBT Film Festival.
Yeah.
Forgot the name. Susan's gonna kill me.
Yeah, it's and next week we have Susan Sandro, the director of the film. On.
She can tell you the name of the festival.
Yeah, hopefully she'll be able to do that. And for me, people, we're still doing the virtual show at the Crane. Cory, I'd love to have you be on it. It's just that it doesn't pay anything. We're just doing basically we're doing it as a charity. So the Crane has pulled all the seats out. And they are refurbishing, so when they finally do open and we have an audience, it'll be COVID up to COVID regulations. So if you want to come and work on stuff, what's weird about doing this show is that you do it at the Crane, and so you're playing to a camera. So but there's no audience except the other two comics, and you know us, we always laugh at each other. But and Julia, no, I told you
this happens at the Crane.
Yeah, this happens at the Crane, and we stream it out. People buy tickets. It's something to give back to the Crane, because if it wasn't for the Crane, none of the women of a certain age stuff would have happened. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Check out both of these ladies. I mean, seriously, these are two of the funniest women I know, and I mean that with all sincerity, guys. When I end the broadcast, I got to run out of here because I do have the show at the Crane. I love you both. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.